UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that Putin would not have invaded Ukraine had he been a woman. Johnson called the invasion of Ukraine crazy and macho, adding that it was a perfect example of toxic masculinity. This comes as a unique take on the war that's led to the worst violence Europe has seen since World War II. In his comments, the British Prime Minister called for more women in positions of power. Meanwhile, talking about the NATO response to the ongoing war, Johnson said that there needs to be a conversation within NATO about a new target for defence investment after 2024. He also suggested an increase in defence spending, one of the things that is on the agenda for this summit in Madrid. On the other hand, Johnson is facing criticism back at home for lower defence spending here. Some lawmakers of his own party and the opposition have censored Johnson. They've attacked him effectively for going back on his election promise to increase military spending in 2022 beyond the rate of inflation. Now, the UK currently spends around 2% of its GDP on defence. That's the same target NATO sets for its members. But on Tuesday, Defence Secretary Ben Wallace also lobbied for that defence budget to be raised.
And I've always said that as a threat change, so must the funding. If governments have historically responded every time the NHS has a winter crisis, so must they when the threat to the very security that underpins our way of life increases. Sometimes it's not about what dividend you can take out, but about what investment in people and equipment you can put in. For too long, defence has lived on a diet of smoke and mirrors, hollowed-out formations and fancy efficiency savings, while in the last few years the threat from states have started to increase.
Well, our correspondent Sally Patterson is still with us here in London. Sally, how have these calls for more cash for defence spending in the UK been received?
Well, as you say, Laura, it has actually been a rather confusing week over in the UK because whilst we've seen Ben Wallace, the Defence Secretary, pushing for a higher budget, we have heard also rumours from the Prime Minister's own office that the pledges that they had made in the manifesto when they ran to be in office, they were actually going to be pedalling back on these. And so, you know, understandably, you would think the Defence Secretary has said that actually the government needs to be pushing more into defence. It says that when the budget was originally set, Russia had not yet invaded Ukraine. And so we had no idea that we were going to see such a difference in needs and what the countries would need. So he's asking it to all be rethought. And we've seen Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who seemed to go back on his word, now saying, no, that's absolutely not the case. The UK will deliver on its defence spending pledges. However, he refused to put a number on this when pushed. He just said, he pointed to the fact that the UK is spending more than it's sort of ever spent. Now, Foreign Secretary Liz Truss has also weighed in on this debate. And she has said, the free world did not spend enough on defence post the Cold War, and we are now paying the consequences. I support the aims of increasing defence spending through NATO. So what could be seen there as a rift within the cabinet, and we'll have to see what happens and whether the Prime Minister will in fact go back on his word.
Sally Patterson in London, thank you.